ska det hjälpa. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another tutorial. We're gonna look at some drums today, and we're gonna look at the Invasion drum kit today and the P5 another day. Welcome into my project. This is the song Reality. It's on Spotify, and I'm looking back at this. This was a while ago that I mixed this, and I think some things can be better. But we're gonna go through each and every one of these fine things right here. So we have our multi-out, we have our drums in a backwards style. Are you ready, guys? So we're gonna look at the heavy top-down mixing that I have, like Nolly style. Then we're gonna look at the cymbals and work on the envelopers, I think, and the snare, the kick, the toms, and least but not least, the rooms. Okay, guys. Let's start with the multi-out. So I have my drums right here. It's the contact library here. I have already made a multi-out here. I'm not going to go through that now, but you can make your own if you download the presets down below. I will link both the Logic Pro preset that I have and also the Invasion preset. And I also wrote here that I want to up the drums a bit because I thought they were actually a bit too low now when I listen back to them. So let's take a listen. So this is the whole mix. I just want to bump up the whole summing stack, actually 1 dB. So let's do that. So like -8 or something. Wow, -6. Let's see how that sounds, boys and girls. Very good. I have like a heavy top-down mixing now when we go forward. I'm going to take the top-down mixing first, and then I'm going to talk about the parallel compression bus. So it's backward in the backwards, guys. So I'm going to move this one so you don't get confused, okay? And I'm going to mention again a short thing about the multi-out after we are done with the parallel bus as well. Okay, let's go, guys. What I mean by top-down mixing and what Nolly means is that you make kind of a mastering-ish thing before you start mixing the individual instruments in the drum bus. And of course this one is mastered, so it's a lot more than I would put on normally, but I do have a lot of plugins often when I mix, so I don't have to do a lot of things on the individual channels. So if you do like an EQ, you bump the bass and you bump the highs, you get closer to the end results quicker from the start. So I think I will turn off the Gullfoss and also the sooths, and we'll listen and maybe actually turn off the whole thing so you can hear how it sounds without it, okay? And the volume is going to be a lot lower, of course. Let's turn on the limiter so we get a little bit closer to the volume we had before. Okay, let's go into the drums only. Let's turn on the first plugin in the top-down mix chain. And the next one, and this is gonna bump the volume. And if you have watched my mastering video, I show you some of the settings I have there. So it's a lot of compression going on here. So let's check out the parallel drum bus that I have here. So what is parallel compression? You compress hard. See here it's working -10 dB, and I have a 10:1 ratio. So it's much. I have no knee on this one. Actually, I have no makeup gain, but I'm using it as a bus here, so I choose how much gain and how much of the bus that I want by just dialing the fader up and down. So let's see how it sounds. Sorry, guys. Sorry for your ears. The stupid thing, I have routed so I can't really solo it like this, but let's do it like this. Okay. So this is the parallel drum bus only, I think. Yeah. So the snare sounds a bit weird, I think it's a... but the idea here is to make everything pop and like and make it really punchy. So on this one I have 15 milliseconds in attack and release of 51 milliseconds here. I want the transient to go through, but also have like a sustainish. Let's see. This is without, so you get a lot more sustain with the parallel drum bus, and it sounds big. Let's do some makeup gain just for science. And maybe I have a bit too much actually in this mix. A bit too much sustain actually. I have a EQ here, let's check that out. So I don't want that low end here, so I have a low cut, as you see here. I want the snare, mostly. The way I've made this drum bus is by sending the whole mix. So I've had the summing stack where all the drums go, so every drum here, all goes to, whoa, this here. And then this one goes to this, you know, let's make arrows instead. It's more, it's cool, man. Yeah, so this is the bus 31 right here. A better way would actually be to send each individual drum. So I would send this one to 31. This would make so that I could choose to only parallel compress the snare, or I have more snare and a little bit. So I have the snare here and I have the kick here. More snare, not so much kick, for example. Now I send the whole drum set in there, but it works. Another thing with the parallel drum bus here is that cymbals can sound really weird and like washy. So that's another advantage of sending each instrument to the bus. But in this case, I was lazy probably and just sent the whole kit. Let's listen how it sounds in the mix. Pops a little bit more. You could try to add a lot or not. Let's try. This is too much, but you hear what it does. Add a little bit more. Okay, that's a parallel drum bus. So the thing is that you could also do like 50-50. So you want to blend in this extreme compression sounding drum kit with a normal dry sounding drum kit. Let's move on. Now let's talk just about the multi-out thing I wanted to mention before. So when you do the multi-out in here, it sends each individual drum to a bus so that you can mix them individually. GGD has tutorials on how to do this on their YouTube. And that's what I've done here. All right, guys, let's go through the cymbals. And I've highlighted here that work the envelopers is important. Let's check it out. So what I've done here, let's solo the drum kit. This one is muted here. I want the cymbals to be shorter, especially in the rooms, because in the rooms, which we are going to come to later on here, I have parallel compression as well, or some kind of compression down here. and it makes them very washy, and I want them to be tighter. So I use the enveloper here in our beautiful plugin Invasion by GGD Drums. Get Good Drums. GGD Get Good Drums Drums. GGD Drums. GGD Get Good Drums. Here. And I just make them a tad bit shorter. Can you say? Yeah, you can say that. And if we make it a lot, just to show you examples. Like, this is too short, obviously. Let's listen to the difference. I want them to be a bit shorter and a bit tighter. And this is in the room mic, so I'm on the Cymbals tab here, and I'm doing this on the room close at the moment. On the room far, I don't have any cymbals at the moment. And you see all my volumes here. So it's the hats here, and I have wow, that's beautiful. And I have the ride right here. FX overhead, yeah, and the rooms here. So I just set them so that they were nice in the mix. Not too loud, but you have to hear them as well. You know, the kick and the snare is very important. But you gotta have those quarter notes as well. I made some early mixes with, you know, 2 little cymbals, very tiny. No, the volume was too low, and then you don't feel the you know, the quarter note pulse and the groove. The kick and the snare doesn't have anything to lay back onto. Let's check out the bass here, the overhead. So I want it to sound kind of like a real drum set. I want that bleed in there, so I still have you know, kicks and stuff, but I cut the lows like sharp, really sharp turn, like 72 dB per octave right here. So that's the kind of a lot. And I do some mid processing here. Let's listen. You know, just a kind of low and that you don't need. And I did a mid focused EQ here. Oops. You can choose if you want to process the EQ. You can do this in Logic stock as well, but it's easier in FabFilter where you can, you know, have a side band and a mid band in the same EQ, same instance of the plugin. So what this essentially does is that I can EQ just the mids in this overhead signal. This is a stereo signal, so it's 2 mics, which makes it so that I can mix the mids and the sides separately with this EQ. And in the mids, you don't want a lot of high end. You want it to be on the sides. It makes it feel wider, and you want the bass in the middle. It's a trick to make the mix wider in general. And then I have a little bump here. Let's listen. And it's a classical music. No, this is metal, cool. So I want to take away this, you know, the 4K we talked about before, and also some 6K that it can be annoying for the ear. And then after that, I have some even more high end taken away. Some of the, and then least but not last, I have even more low end taken away. Let's see how it sounds without it. Not so much of a difference. I guess I put it there for safety reasons. And then we have some of the more 4K stuff. That was a frequency I didn't like. And some of the highs here. And on this particular channel, I don't have a compressor. Every drum go into the parabass here. And then on the summing stack, I have a multiband compressionator. Woo! Okay. And that's it for the overhead. So now we have gone through, yeah. Short introduction to multi-out here. Short mention of the heavy top-down mixing that I have here, and not each plugin, but it's a lot happening there. And when we are listening now, we are listening only with the channel EQ and the grand finale here. And I bumped up the volume a bit with my L2. We looked at the parallel compression bus a bit here, and we talked a bit about cymbals, and then some more about the cymbals and the envelopers here, and then went into the overhead here. And then we have a separate for like the ride and such, but I have not done anything to this channel. On the hats, I just did an EQ here and just took away some lows. Let's listen. I have a height in the verse here. and it's heavy to the left in my ear. You know, I don't want any low end here, but I still wanted that like 900. You could argue you don't need it at all, actually. Knowing that I forced myself. Yeah, I would actually take away some of that, but it makes it also so that it gets more centered, which maybe you don't want. You could make this a sideband, as we talked about before, and we could take away this just in the sides. But you could argue you don't really need these in the height. I would probably take this away. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. It will be more parts on this series because it's going to be too long to take everything in this one. Maybe I'll do a summary video of everything in a shorter version if you want. And you can also download, if you want, some presets here. The presets I've shown you here, the Invasion presets. And see you next time, guys. Bye!